Hello again, welcome back to another 1 HP hardcore video. If you haven't seen the first part of this, you don't need to. It's still absolute pain where I barely make any progress. With that out of the way, let's get started. This first attempt, I actually started recording after I got the slime staff from a Pinky. The only reason I wasn't recording at first was because I just figured it would be yet another attempt, but I was wrong. After getting the slime staff and mining a bit more underground, I went back to spawn to start creating a base. After my base was finished, I explored some more, but mainly worked on the elevator. I explored the snow biome, but other than some shoe spikes, I didn't really find anything useful. I made it to the dungeon, and there was absolutely no way I would fight Skeletron at my point in the game, so I just went home. I explored even more after that and made it to the jungle, but I didn't find anything interesting, so I went back home yet again. After that, I started working on a fishing spot because I knew that I would definitely be fishing a decent amount in this attempt. After doing a bit more mining and fishing, I found some gravitation potions. I made sure to be extra careful of harpies since they could easily snipe you from a faraway distance if you weren't careful. I found a floating island and I died. Yeah, I died. I kind of forgot about fall damage during this. If I had just fallen on the clouds, or at least used the gravitation potion to balance out my speed, I could have survived, but oh well. Alright, next attempt. You know the drill. Mine trees, dig down to avoid slimes, realized that I dug down at the wrong spot and there wasn't any stone, so I tried to fight the slimes manually. This time I actually succeeded in avoiding slimes, and I got myself a bow with some very nice wooden arrows to go along with it. I explored a cave nearby, and managed to get a good base going before the first night sets. I found a pyramid after exploring the desert, and managed to get myself a very fancy pharaoh set. Thank you, game. This is exactly what I wanted. I then spent the next little while working on an arena that I could use for future bosses. I went underground and found a minecart track which, me being me, made the horrible mistake of going on it. Next attempt, there was a living tree next to my spawn, and in it there was a finch staff, which was very cool. I then went exploring with it, found the jungle, and found the crimson. I went down the cave just to see what loot might be there, and found that there was an opening to the crimson chasms, which meant I could get an undertaker very early on. I very carefully made my way down, using auto pause because I didn't feel like being jump scared by a blood crawler randomly coming out of the darkness to end my suffering. I managed to make it all the way down to where a crimson heart would be located, but then a giant worm decided to be funny and prevent me from getting it right away. Okay. The next morning I went straight back down to the crimson to reclaim the undertaker that was dropped. After finishing my base, I went to go explore some more of the crimson since with my new undertaker it would be much easier to traverse. I did a mix of selling critters for money, exploring, selling more critters, and exploring even more until I was eventually able to obtain the mini shark. By this point, I had already explored most of the jungle in my world, made a elevator, and even found the dungeon. Now all that was left to do was to fight some bosses, and after exploring the snow biome, I managed to find a ruby, which means now it's time for the first boss, King Slime. After getting some summons, I made an arena, waited till day, buffed up, and started the fight. managed to get the slimy saddle, which after remembering previous attempts, dying to fall damage, I decided to wait and use it later. I also got the royal gel, which was very important for avoiding later deaths. However, when fighting King Slime for the second time, since I had an extra summon, I made the very unfortunate mistake of standing still right as King Slime was teleporting, and he teleported directly on top of me, which killed me instantly. Next attempt for comedic purposes, and mainly just to see how fast I would die, I did a 1 HP hardcore attempt on the Zenith seed, aka Get Fixed Boy, aka the worst seed known to man. Seriously, when I tried this seed for the first time, it took me over 100 hours and I had around 1100 deaths. So who would have guessed when on the very first night, I die to an ash block. Here's a fun fact for everyone: if you do what's shown on screen here, you can actually put different Terraria items in your name, which I thought was pretty neat. In this attempt, I do everything that I've done in the beginnings of previous attempts, get a wooden bow with arrows, explore some, nearly die, and make a base before nightfall. I also started using a fun little thing where if you see suspiciously small pockets of water, you can build directly up, and 9 times out of 10 you'll find a floating island wherever you build up. Next, I start working on yet another elevator as I need some pretty important loot, and I need to access hell to, actually progress in the game. I managed to find a glowing mushroom biome while digging down, and it actually has some pretty good stuff, like this infinitely generating skeleton farm. This wasn't intentional, this wasn't intentional. Wait, why am I saying that? That's not in the script. There was also a chest, which in it had a suspicious looking eye, which means that the Eye of Cthulhu is going to end up being the first boss that I'm going to end up fighting in this attempt. I did some exploring and managed to find myself a Star Fury in the floating island, using the same trick that I mentioned previously of building directly up when you find suspiciously small pockets of water, almost guaranteeing a floating island. I grabbed myself an Undertaker from the Crimson, and after careful consideration, decided that I would try to fight the Eye of Cthulhu. My plan for the fight, despite me not having that much speed to outpace the Eye, was very simple. If I get close to me, I recall. This will be very useful for after the Eye starts going berserk at like 300 HP. However, when attempting to execute this plan, I failed to account for the amount of recall potions that I had, which led to this moment right here. "68 health. 68 health left and I died. If one more grenade would have hit, then I would have won, but oh well." Here's a fun tip for everyone: never name a seed guide to plant fiber cordage. It is a useless item that translates into a very useless seed. Next attempt, I had another living tree next to the spawn point, but there really wasn't much in it. I made a trip to the underground tundra and followed a minecart track. As per tradition, I ended up dying to another slime. The attempt after that was going decently until an ice slime decided to jump down into the room I was in. In a panic, I started going down the cave in an attempt to escape the 2 slimes that were hunting me down, but unfortunately, I ended up dead. The next attempt after that, I did a very big dump and aggravated 2 vultures, and it went about as well as you may expect this whole ordeal to go. Ha! You thought I was about to die, didn't you? Come on, you gotta have at least a little bit more faith in me than that, right? That doesn't count, okay? Next attempt, I decided to go for a ground base because I literally just felt like changing things up. That's about it. Exploring the desert, I found another pyramid, which this time actually had something useful: the sandstorm in a bottle. I worked on the base some more and used the technique of easily finding the floating islands to find yet another one. This time it contained a balloon. Not that useful, but hey, I'll take it. Another floating island later, and I finally managed to get myself a celestial magnet. Oh, okay. I build a base next to my NPC housing and start digging a elevator after I finish things up. I even find Hermes boots, which is absolutely amazing. I love this game so much. I ended up finding another glowing mushroom biome, and other than a few life crystals, there wasn't really anything worth mentioning that I found. I start working on an arena, and after a little while of working on it, it's mostly finished. I start making more progress on my elevator when, after using a spelunker potion, it reveals a hidden gem cave which contains rubies! Yes, I can finally fight King Slime again. Before making the summon, I need to, you know, actually find the crimson so I can craft it using a demon altar. Whoa, how'd you get in here? I eventually make it to the Crimson, make the summon, and face off against King Slime. Now that slimes can no longer hurt me, I decide to make another trek into the Crimson to grab myself an Undertaker, as this will be very useful for the bosses later on. Why? I literally jumped there multiple times. Why did I think now would be a great time to not jump and take fall damage? Next attempt, I do the usual, get a bow, avoid the slimes, go down a cave to get some loot, and after returning to the surface, I find it is pitch black outside, so I quickly build a box around myself and start digging down again to pass the time. When it's day again, I go explore some more and find that the jungle is insanely close to where my base was. I managed to explore some of it, get some decent loot, but unfortunately, I got cornered by a jungle bat, and I ended up dead, yet again. The attempt after that was looking just like any other normal attempt, but then I get around 15 gold from a portal, I explore the snow biome, and I get ice skates, as well as a snowball cannon, which will be very, very useful for later on. I build a base, and after that's done, I try to search for things in the Sky Islands, although I don't really find anything interesting. I expand my base and then start working on a elevator. After that, I find the Crimson, but since I actually have a good ranged weapon, I decide to start exploring it. With autopause enabled, of course, because I didn't feel like losing all this progress because of a blue slime again. A little while later, I find a lucky horseshoe. Let's go. I won't die to fall damage anymore. Let's go. Anyway, I then continue exploring the Crimson to grab myself an Undertaker, and after the arms dealer moves in, I sell a few things, and I'm able to grab the good old mini shark, baby. I love the mini shark. It may be overrated, but I love it so much. My main goal now was to work on an arena for the later bosses, and after some careful exploration in the mushroom biome, I managed to find a suspicious looking eye yet again, which means that, yet again, the Eye of Cthulhu is going to be the first boss I face up against. Now, if you recall previously, I used a strategy with recall potions in an attempt to beat the eye, and it very nearly worked if I hadn't ran out of those recall potions halfway through the fight. So, did I use that same strategy again, which would have almost certainly allowed me to defeat the eye? No, of course not. What do you think I am? Smart? I used a completely different strategy of gravitation potions, and when the eye started to go crazy, I messed it up, and the eye killed me. Of course you can't have a 1 HP hardcore video without the generic death to a dart trap, so I figured I'd get that one out of the way. Now in the attempt after that, I managed to find a snow biome. In the first chest, there was a snowball cannon. In the second chest, I got an ice boomerang. In the chest after that, I acquired some flurry boots. And finally, I managed to get a blizzard in a bottle. So yes, I was somehow able to get nearly every single item in the ice chest loot table, one right after another. So that's fun. I built myself a base, and you know, of course, me being me, got bored, and I died to fall damage, losing all of that good luck. Why am I so bad at this game? Next attempt. This attempt I did some exploring and found myself a pyramid, which in it had a sandstorm in a bottle. Honestly, at this point, I was really tired of losing so much progress to really dumb mistakes again. So after I explored the snow biome for a bit, I spent the majority of this attempt building. Before you say anything, yes, I was fully aware that I could have lost everything by a stupid mistake, but honestly, I didn't really care. The building was pretty fun. I lost that build due to a bat coming out of the darkness to end it all, so this is fine. I'm fine. Drunk world attempts worked decently for me in the previous videos, so I figured, why not? I'll try one again. And I died to a bat, of course! This next attempt was the most generic attempt so far. I got materials for a bow, I went underground, got some loot, waited out the rest of the night in a box, and I finally died to a chimera when I was going to explore the Crimson. Alright, here's how the final attempts for this video went. I first went exploring in a cave. I got myself a few weapons, but other than that, not much. After recalling, I went to the other side of my world and found the desert, and I finally built a base before sundown. I found out that not only could 1 block tall zombies fit through 1 block holes vertically as seen in the last video, but they can also go through 1 block horizontal holes, so I died. Yeah, no, nothing to see here, just the same old stuff. I didn't see that slime, okay, we're good. Ha! I lied, we're not good, we are definitely not good. In my final attempt, I did the usual, managed to find some pretty good surface loot for surface loot wise. I managed to find a mushroom biome, although I didn't explore it due to a worm. I make a base, and after waiting out the night, I make one of the best financial decisions ever, and I went to go explore the underground desert. I got some decent loot in exchange for a near-death experience, which, honestly, I'll take over actually dying, like I have in these previous attempts. The next morning, I used the magic conch to explore each side of my world. I don't really find much except the angler and the dungeon. Also, aren't these rooms usually, you know, below the surface to where the dungeon guardian spawns, not directly on the surface for me to access? I was also very tempted at this point to anger the dungeon guardian, but I decided against it. I made it to the jungle and, surprise surprise, died to a thorn. What a fitting way to end off this video. Like I said in the previous video, if you want to see more vanilla or maybe even modded 1 HP hardcore attempts, then let me know in the comments. As always, hopefully you enjoyed seeing me slowly lose my sanity multiple times in a row, and well, yeah. See ya.